Hello and welcome back to Jules Math Tools, where math is made easy. In our session today, this is part 5 on our fractions using PEMDAS. And in this session, we are working with our division and addition operation. And if you want to see how to solve this question, let's get started. So in our question today that we are solving, we're working with our division and addition operations. Now, as you know, in PEMDAS, division comes before addition. So that means that we're first going to work out our division operation before we even begin to add our fractions. So let's begin. We have our fractions 3/8 being divided by our 1/5. And remember that in dividing fractions, we always apply our keep, change, and flip rule. This means that we're going to keep our first fraction, which is 3/8, exactly the same. We're going to change our division sign to multiplication, and then we're going to flip or take the reciprocal of our second fraction, meaning that our denominator moves to the numerator and our numerator becomes our denominator. Now, once we have applied our keep change flip rule, we're now going to multiply our fractions. So we multiply our numerators of 3 and 5, which equals to 15. Then we're going to multiply our denominators of 8 and 1, which will equal to 8. Now in this case, there are many options that you can take. You can now decide to either A, leave the fraction as is, or you can convert it into its mixed fraction form and then plug it back into your question. Now, if you are someone that's not comfortable with adding mixed fraction to a regular fraction or a proper fraction, my advice to you would be leave it as a mixed fraction, and then at the end, you can simplify your fraction by converting it back into its mixed fraction form. So for that purpose, I'm going to leave the fraction of 15/8 as it is. And now we're going to write back in our 1/2 fraction. And now we're going to add our fractions. Now remember that whenever we add or subtract fractions with unlike denominators, our first step is always to convert our fraction to its equivalent form, meaning that we're going to find the LCD or the LCM of the numbers in our denominator. And for the numbers in our denominator, which is 2 and 8, when I find the LCD of these numbers, the lowest common multiple, in this case that these numbers have in common, will be 8. So that means that I'm now going to convert both fractions into their equivalent form, where 8 is the number in their denominator. Now in looking at 15/8, because that already has a denominator of 8, that means that we will not be changing that fraction. But I will still go through the steps to show you why we do not change the fraction. Now for 2, because 2 has a denominator that needs to be changed to 8, we're going to find the multiple or the factor that we multiply 2 to that will give us 8. And we know that when we multiply 2 times 4, that will give us a denominator of 8. And because I multiply 2 times 4, my numerator will also be multiplied to the exact same number. So 1 times 4 will equal to 4. So now that we've converted our fraction into its equivalent form, I will also show you why we are not changing our 8. Now in 15/8, because 8 already has a denominator of 8 in our denominator for this fraction, that means that our 8 would have been multiplied to 1, which would equal to 8. And then my 15 would have also been multiplied to 1, which would equal to 15. Which is why we say that in these cases, if the fraction already has a denominator that is the LCD, we do not change the fraction because the fraction in a sense will just be multiplied to 1. And we know that anything times 1 will equal to itself. So now that we have our fractions with their LCD and we've converted our 1/2 into its equivalent form, Remember that when adding our fractions, we add the numerator. So we will add 15 plus 4, which will equal to 19. And then we will keep our denominator of 8. So now that I've added my fractions, I'm now going to convert this fraction into its mixed fraction form by dividing my 8 into 19. So 8 will divide into 19 twice. 2 times 8 will give us 16. And when 19 subtracts 16, we have the difference of 3. Remember that our 2, which is at the top of our division bracket, will be our whole number. My 3, which is my remainder, will now become my new numerator. And my 8, which was my divisor, will remain as my denominator. So when we set our fraction up, we have our 2 as our whole number, 3 is my numerator, and 8 will remain as my denominator. And this will be our fraction when converted to its mixed fraction form. Okay, so there you have it. We just calculated another fraction using PEMDAS. Remember, as always, you must know how to master each of these skills individually so that when they are combined together in a single question, you know how to perform them and the order in which they need to be formed. But as always, make sure that you get some additional practice in. And as always, I will see you right here in the next session on Jules Math Tools, where the aim is always to make math easy.